So now we're going to kick off the global trends with a very pertinent issue. One of the things we talked about is how hard it is to get games going, mobile games going these days, and one of the things that's making it a little bit hard, potentially, is the policies of certain platforms. One thing that's fascinating at the moment, and a different way to deal with your customers and get different revenues, is web stores. And Miikka is going to talk about that from Appcharge. So round of applause for Miikka, please.
Right, let me set up my slides here. Nice to meet you, everybody. Great to be here today. Happy New Year, 2024. So, first of all, start of the year, it's been a crazy year. Already some interesting news, so we'll get to that later. I hope you guys have some good questions stored in, like I'm ready to answer some of those, for sure. Who am I? So my name is Miikka Luotio. I'm originally from Finland, based in Berlin. Been working in the mobile games industry for 2 decades now. Built about 12 mobile games myself, and then veered off into the business development domain, and that's what I'm still doing. I've been working at companies like Rovio, PopCap, Digital Chocolate, Tilting Point, previously at Exola as well, on the direct-to-consumer side. For about 3 years, and just recently joined these awesome Israeli guys called Appcharge. All right, so what is Appcharge? So we are an Israeli-based company focusing on direct-to-consumer as a platform for mobile publishers, helping them grow their revenue outside of the app stores. What makes us, I think, unique is the fact that, unlike most merchant of records, our DNA comes from making games. So when I first met the guys, I fell in love with the team because they come from the same background I come from, which is actually making mobile games. And I felt like that was great. And I feel like if there's this particular trend to be captured, it should be done by people who've actually built games. So some of our team's background comes from anywhere from Moon Active to huge games and much more. So really exciting team. And we've been active for a couple of years now. We're working with some of the largest mobile publishers around the world already. So things are moving very fast in this space, and it's an exciting space to be in. All right, so let's talk about 2023. So it was really a boom year for the web stores. Most of the publishers, the top crossing publishers, saw a way into the direct-to-consumer space one way or another. Some of them built web stores, some of them built portals. Many of them saw anywhere between around 30% incremental revenue growth through that. And I feel like that's just the beginning here. But we've seen a lot of the companies being driven into the direct-to-consumer space because of the tightening of the margins for publishers. And this is caused by rising costs in UA, which many people are talking about in this conference as well. Also, obviously, the inflation. So publishers are looking into ways of starting to restart the growth of their games, legacy games, older games, and even new games, and find a way for them to grow without being hampered by the platforms and the economic situation, and cost of UAs and so forth. So here's some important KPIs that 2023 unraveled for us. As you can see, you're looking at roughly, and this is kind of based on the data of 2023, 30 to 40% incremental revenue growth on average. What's interesting is conversion to purchase is very promising, like overall. Like this is a very good thing, especially for core games. But we've seen definitely, if you look at casual games, there's still a lot of friction to be resolved. And this is really about educating the player, and we'll get to that later. But you really have to educate your players to understand, to trust that they can buy stuff and actually get it outside of the app stores, outside of the mobile game as well. Returning purchases are really loyal, and friction remains no longer an issue when you have returning purchases because they've done it once, they've done a first-time purchase, so they're more likely to do it again. So that's encouraging, very encouraging results. And most of the first purchases will return the purchase, which is also very encouraging. And even with casual games, as you can see, you can really, once you get them to get something from the store, even if you're dealing with a casual game, they will want to go and come back and buy some more. So it's really the first time purchase here that we can see that with casual games, there's a lot to be resolved and a lot to be improved, but very promising results across the board. All right, so how did publishers achieve these results? And that's a good question. Most successful web stores nailed really the pricing of the items, really the hitting the right price point where players actually get to see the clear value. So you send a clear statement to anyone visiting your web store that this is where you get the best deal out of. This is where you get the best deal. So if you manage to nail that, you're halfway there almost. Because then they understand to do the first purchase, and they can see the value clearly, very obviously. So free item giveaways remain a very important part, actually. And we've seen a few publishers do this, where it's a way for you to kind of remove the first-time friction. So if you teach them to claim a free item from your web store, they're halfway there. Obviously, they don't enter payment details, but they still can see that they get an item from that store. So it works, and you can take them through a lightweight process just to claim a free item. And in some ways, you can bundle it up with items that cost something like a first-time conversion offer, where you can actually give away free items as part of the bundle. So you incentivize the friction. I think the first-time purchase friction. Still, with all of this, most publishers are barely tapping into the true potential of the web stores, which really can be unlocked by personalization, segmentation, and really making your offers more gamified. And what I mean by that is like mechanics that, anything from accumulation bar, loyalty systems, all of these things. And I think last year we barely saw people getting into that space. We've seen a few companies get into that, and the results are even more encouraging than what we were looking at before. And most of the web stores in 2023 could be considered as really like MVPs. So they were like version 1 or alpha or beta or whatever terminology you want to use. But I think in this year we will see much more advanced features across the board from different publishers. So let's talk a little bit about the challenges of web stores. And that's a big question. Like, what are the main challenges, right? And there's a lot. So first of all, as we can all see for the KPIs before that I showed you, returning purchasers are loyal and they come back one time or more. This really means that you have to educate your player base. And what this means is that they understand that playing the game happens on the mobile, and if they want to get the better deals, they pay on the web. So mobile is where I play, and web is where I pay. That's really something that you have to understand, that you need to educate your player base on that. Another key challenge was the fear that platforms may retaliate if you break the guidelines. Obviously, all publishers depend on platforms still today, and more or less. So how do you inform your players without breaking the guidelines? Simple rule. I mean, obviously, even with the news, recent news, which I think most of you guys being here have probably read about, on the Apple US App Store, allowing to direct players directly to the web store. But I think the rule here is really like, after seeing the 27% news that's followed short after, just hours after, I think it's clear that you still have to find ways to reach your player base outside of the game. So really building a community that exists not just in the game, but outside of the game in a transmedia format where you can communicate and talk to them as a community on your own terms is still very important. And even if those rules may change in the future, who knows? You still should have a strategy that leans on the fact that you're doing community building. You are driving the communication to your players. You know, if you're only relying on your game to do that, you need to ask yourself, like, is that future-proof, right? So we may see some advances in the future, especially with the European Union Digital Markets Act coming to place in March 7th, specifically to this. Obviously, there's no hard information on that, but I'd assume we'd probably all of us will be reading about it sometime next month, I'm sure. So March isn't that far away, right? So, and I don't want to comment on rumors or anything like that, but like I would say it's a fast developing space, so stay tuned. Follow the news on this, because everybody's in the same bucket. Nobody has privileged information, as far as I know. So good to follow the news these days. Another big challenge for many was the fact that, like, should I open a standalone web store or create a full portal for multiple games? Like, is it a single destination for multiple games, or is it a single destination for one game? So this has been a big challenge as well. And I would say that the upsides of having a standalone web store is obviously you can get it going faster. So if you have a standalone web store for a single game, your time to data is optimal. So you don't need to put that much effort into getting and learning from selling outside of the app stores. So that's the upside on having a standalone web store. Obviously, with the portal approach, the big thing comes in if you have a big portfolio of games, you have more branding opportunities. But at the same time, you can educate your players to understand, for example, tie in a publisher ID and make them understand that having a publisher ID gets you some so-called VIP or club benefits of some sort. You get free items, and that way you can educate your whole player base across multiple games to go into your site or your portal. The other upside on a portal is obviously you can have features there that go beyond just selling. So you can have anything from news blog to events calendar and much more. So let's talk about this here. This is really the interesting part. There's going to be a lot of developments happening on this sector. There's a lot of companies getting into the space, and it's almost like a gold rush of sorts. And that's exciting. I think having a lot of companies, having competition is really healthy, because I hope that drives the industry forward into the old paradigms that we grew into, which are the app stores. And I think the future is going to be very interesting on this side. So you really need to do a reality check on your strategy. If you're not already planning a web store, you really have to look in the mirror. This year. Really, that should be in your strategy at this point. And I think there was like somebody in LinkedIn recently I saw from a big company was just saying that, and I don't want to quote anybody here, but yeah. You should even plan to launch a web store with new games, I think, because it's really actually easier to educate a new player base than an old player base. So also think about that. That could be an interesting way to benchmark your new title and have your players really learn the direct-to-consumer from the very beginning and understand it's part of the game, not something that's added on top of it. And then obviously segmentation and personalization. That's really, couldn't emphasize that more, because that can impact positively at least 10% on boost on your direct-to-consumer sales. Personalization will really actually reduce the first-time friction, because if you go there and you see exactly what you want to buy right away, off the bat, that makes a massive difference. And this is something we didn't see a lot last year. And that's something that our team at Appcharge has been working especially on a lot, especially this side, because we believe this is the real way to take it to the next level, this trend of web stores. You should also find a merchant of record partner who can offer really segmentation and personalization out of the box, and can plug into your existing segmentation setup. That's really important, because you don't want to start building up and trying to develop that to be extended outside of the main mobile game. the gamification mechanics in the web stores will evolve. We will see many features like accumulation bars, daily offers, advanced loyalty systems that are actually fun. So like what I would say that like this year, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing some fun to use, fun to buy web stores. And I think that's the key here. It should be an extension of the fun that you're having in the game, right? Like you should have as much fun buying stuff than playing the game. Like if you can get close to that fun, then you're onto something. And I think that's yet to be seen. Like there's a lot of things we will see this year, especially on that side. The impact of the EU DMA, of course, as I mentioned before, right now it's just rumors, but there's been rumors about the App Store being split and all kinds of stuff. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, right? And then react accordingly, all together, publishers, merchants of records, providers like Appcharge and other companies. One thing that I believe this year, perhaps the biggest revolution we will see is, obviously everybody knows AI, the power of AI. But imagine a situation where your players can talk directly to the store, right? In their favorite messaging app, like whether it's WhatsApp, Telegram, Messenger, you name it. But imagine if they can have an open dialogue with your store, almost like a concierge system, an extension of it. So you can reach not just your VIP players and have your player concierge team talking to your VIP players, but really improve the friction challenge, which is really if you're able to get your whole player base to have a dialogue with the store and buy things directly from there. That kind of already removes the whole need to have a storefront and really go deep into segmentation and personalization. And I think using AI here is where we will see some of the biggest advances. And I think one of the key exciting parts of this is because it's an interaction. So when you buy things, you're more likely to purchase things when you have an interaction. So if you can haggle with the AI, if you can ask it for what's the daily offer today, even getting friends pulled into getting group benefits, discounts that you can refer a friend and hooking that up. Like there's endless possibilities that kind of creates. So web stores, I think, is a stopgap to something greater. And this is what we will see this year happening more and more. And I think we're just in the beginning of it, really. Okay, so that was my talking part. I'm happy to take questions if there's time.
I think you have a question. You can have at least one question. There must be some bloody hell. Sorry, pardon me. It's a lot of you, isn't there? Yeah, is there a question for web stores amongst the thousands gathered here? Here we go, one here. Can we get a mic up to, where's my, there we go. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thanks, Miikka. I just wanted to hear a little bit your thoughts as a game maker as well on the D2C experience. So beyond just payments, what else do you think we might see or could be an opportunity as a game developer to build a relationship with our players through Appcharge or through web stores?
Yeah, that's a good question. So besides purchases, right? Yeah. So besides purchases, obviously, free item giveaway is like an easy thing. Like it sounds like very simple, but it's actually quite deep. So imagine being able to have interactive parts of that, so that you have an influencer who's giving away X amount of free items. But if you claim certain items, you can kind of have a more dynamic situation that could also be a social mechanic. So I think social mechanics are very powerful. And I think that's what I was referring earlier to the whole AI part as well. Like if you're able to do messaging and you're able to refer friends, to pull in friends to get a group benefit or get a unique item even that's unique, completely unique. And you have to achieve that almost as an accumulation bar of sorts. So it's a quest for you and your friends who are playing together. So I think there's a lot to do with the innovation on the social side of it, direct to consumer.
Awesome. I'm sure we have many questions you can grab Miikka after. But thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for Miikka. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
While you're applauding, my son, who's 13 and not easily impressed, is going to be I just want to show him what I do. Can you look enthusiastic behind me while I do a selfie? Is that good? It's 2024, yeah!